thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this episode. I'll be talking a little more about them at the end.
Well, this is the foam board insulation that we'll be putting on top of the roof. It's 2 inches thick, it has an R value of 8, and it also has a high compressive strength, which is great for on top of the roof because we'll be putting the strapping and the roofing steel on top of this. I brought this load in this morning, and there's enough sheets here to do just over half of the entire roof. It's all bundled up, which is nice because it was raining on the way in and kept the dirt and mud off of the actual sheets. So although this is light for the size of it, it's going to be a little awkward to get into the cabin by myself. So we'll just have to see how I do.
That wasn't so bad. As I mentioned earlier, we will be putting the insulation on top of the roof, just above the sheathing and leak barrier, but below the strapping and steel. We wanted to take full advantage of the cabin's cathedral ceiling, with its exposed cedar timbers and rough-cut pine boards. There just isn't any room for insulation on the inside, not without sacrificing the cabin's honest character. You see, in most structures, rafters and ridge poles are tucked away in attics or concealed by drywall, but here in the outsider cabin, they're on open display. In this way, the character of the structure and our workmanship is allowed to speak for itself. This is why we've chosen to put foam board insulation on top of the roof as opposed to insulating from the inside. Yep.
Oh, good.
Looks great.
Good job of lining it up.
This is 83.5 as well.
You might have to, if you hit it sideways too.
Yep, looks good to me. I can maybe slide down. Yeah, just throw it up to me. Okay. Oh. That's 3 points. Right there.
Good. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
guess you're at the point now when you get that one on, you can start giving me the rest of those ends.
Okay. As you can see, we have most of the roof completed now when it comes to the foam board insulation and strapping. We still have the dormer to do right here, and then a little bit more on the other side. But for those of you who are wondering what exactly we're doing here, first of all, we laid down this 2 inches of foam board insulation on top of the leak barrier. And then we strapped it down with these vertical straps first, which are spaced directly over the cabin rafters. So when we put in the 6-inch timber lock screws, they go down through the strap, through the insulation, through the leak barrier, through the plywood, barn board sheathing, and right into the rafters. And so that sucks it all down and holds the whole roof tightly together. And then we have these horizontal straps that we put on top of that. And these horizontal straps are spaced exactly 2 feet apart so that they line up perfectly for when we put the steel roofing on top. There has to be 2 feet of spacing for the screws, and so that's what we've done here. Now, when some people install their steel roofing, they will only do horizontal strapping, and that seems to work just fine. But on the cabin here, I decided to do vertical strapping first, then horizontal strapping on top. And that's because steel roofing, although superior in most ways, is known to have moisture condense on the top side as well as the underside of the steel. So the way I've done it here is that if there is moisture that condenses on the underside and it drips off, it will fall onto the foam board insulation, and it has some space to drain underneath the horizontal straps. So these vertical straps really just help to hold those horizontal straps off, and it allows the moisture just to drain off as quickly as possible without getting hung up anywhere. And even if the moisture drips off of the steel and finds its way through the foam insulation, which it might in some cases, it'll hit the leak barrier and still find its way off the roof. So no matter what, we're covered as far as moisture goes. Well, with all that being said, I'm going to grab the camera here and we're going to get back to work.
we noticed a group of gray clouds moving in from the north, where a few rumbles could be heard in the distance. Good thing the weatherman said there wouldn't be any rain today. How does that old northern saying go? Ah yes, when it rains, it hails. Best to take a short break.
Step on it too. There. Good.
46 and 5/8. We're gonna do 46 and a half. Okay, thanks. Looking for a place to winter, over winter. Yeah, it's a little cold for them right now. Of course. Measure the The foam board insulation and the strapping are all complete, so we are just about ready to put on the steel. If you look in the valley here, you can see that we've added some extra pieces to add some support to the steel valleys when we put them in. So we just have a few more pieces to install, and then comes the steel, which I'm really excited for because I'm excited to get off of this roof.
My last job of the day was to cut the chimney support box flush with the roof. Since another rainstorm was on its way, I covered the chimney opening with a scrap of plywood to keep the water out. Since the spring, we've been working steady on the roof, from the rafters to the barn boards, plywood sheathing, leak barrier, and now the foam plus strapping. We've certainly had our fill of working on a 12-12 pitch. Gives me a whole new respect for all you roofers out there. I tip my hat to you. As for me, I'd rather leave the steep slopes to the mountain goats. We could have completed the roof sooner, but we've only been able to work at it part-time so far. Plus, our last-minute decision to build dormers onto the roof added a whole new layer of complexity to the build. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that we added them, and I'm grateful for the challenge, but their construction has certainly prolonged our time up here. Not to mention, the other half of my time is spent filming and editing our work. Yet another labor of love. The good news is that we're now on the final stretch. The question is, can we get the steel on before the first snow? Truth is, your guess is as good as mine. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode and helping to support this channel. Squarespace gives people a powerful and beautiful online platform from which to create your website. Squarespace has powerful blogging tools to tell your story, share your updates, and post photos and videos. Stand out in any inbox with Squarespace email campaigns. Our all-in-one platform makes it easy to unify your brand voice. From your homepage to your emails, Squarespace can authenticate with your social profiles, letting you auto-post your content to Twitter, Facebook, or Tumblr, helping you to grow your social following. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/theoutsider to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Anyway, that's it for now. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, be well, and God bless.